Hey there guys, we're taking a look at Goldfish right now, playing an ESEA Open match on Gullywash. He's playing Pocket, so let's see how this goes. Pass forward. Turn on view models this time. I did it, guys. I'm the best. And yeah, again, you gotta be worried about taking that door, just because if your demo doesn't do like the quick big door roll and kind of contest their demo with, which it looks like he did, this guy kind of just doesn't give a fuck. You don't want to get kind of destroyed by those stickies, so take it wide or do a 27 along the inner corner just so you can get out without taking a little bit of damage. But you're fortunate not to get hit here. And you're jumping way too high. You can't afford to jump this high and expect not to get killed by scouts. Like, you were lucky that they weren't up there because they probably should have just melted, like destroyed you. Knife through butter, just easy mode. In general, I wouldn't look to get aggressive on the demo that way, because all you can do is push them out, and if your team's not taking position themselves, pushing him out doesn't do a whole lot for you. It's not going to help your mid, and your team's not going to be able to get up there in time to really benefit from it. So if they're not getting up there really early, like that's not the plan of the mid, I wouldn't jump for position there if the demo's there. In that case, it's usually better to go drop down or go along to their side and just kind of delay them a bit, or go under and jump up onto them, just not straight into them, because it's predictable for their scouts, and in a lot of cases it's not going to help your team a whole lot unless they're planning on getting up there really quickly. So it looks like their med either died and you guys are a bit slow, or he got out of mid and wasn't healing on for a long time. If he was getting out of mid and you didn't like kill all 5 of them, I wasn't really paying attention to the kill feed. You probably don't want to push like this, because I would assume that they would have Uber. But we'll see how this goes. And you're worried about keeping rockets loaded. You don't want to reload too and fire like this, especially since you know they're close to Uber. You don't want a rocket to be kind of wasted. You know, potentially firing 3 or firing 1 and then the second one gets blocked by the Uber so you can't jump out. You want to be pretty comfortable in being able to get out, or just kite around the last and wait for their Uber to end, so reloading a bit more rockets there would have been favorable. So at this point you're 300 or close to at 280 at the time, and you need to jump them. You can afford, since you're giving up mid anyway, or you should be. Oh, they backed out. Well, that's weird. Okay, so it's, they should have pushed, because they kind of take that. They were taking that with relative ease. So you could have sacrificed there or suicided in, knowing that your team is probably going to give this up anyway, knowing that they would get Uber advantage ahead of you. So maybe you get the med there or a couple kills, and your team can stay in and suicide off of the kills you get if it's not the med. But either way, that situation was pretty juicy. You just jump into them. Check above you. Just through the trap. And then they have the oobs. And at this point, you want to be leading your mech towards the rest of your team. So I imagine most of them are to come through river. Since not a whole lot of them were with you in lobby. But I guess they were just too far behind and you pushed a little too early. So if you're looking to maximize a pick like that, probably sack in with your 300, or just wait for your team and let the enemy players respawn, because that's really not going to fly unless you're able to end the Uber, having your medic in a safe position, able to pick everyone up, and you in kind of an aggressive position that's pretty hard to get to, so probably balcony, something like that, and your med would end river, for example. You saw that scout go drop down, or you at least know he's possibility of him going drop down, so you should check that out. And right now you can hear him right there, so that was just a minor mistake, not knowing the map too well. And in that case, with a scout going drop down, I'd feel pretty comfortable with just pushing choke really aggressively, because they're going to be down a player there. So if your scout was kind of leading in or distracting some damage away from you, at that point you can go in and just kind of shit on them. I don't think they were that close to Uber there either, because even though they had a pretty easy cap of second, the last was also pretty quick, so probably only around 70 or 80 by the time I was mentioning that, so probably could have gotten in and done a lot of damage and at least traded. So this is pretty ideal. I mean, try not to take damage here. And make sure you hit that guy. He obviously had a double jump available, so probably shouldn't fire until he wastes that. But in general, you're doing fine here. You could have looked to push out of last a little bit, since you had a lot of time anyway. And just try to get some damage on the People River, but overall it was a pretty good last. So you want to look to the right here, because there's no reason not to, just spending like half a second looking to the right to make sure your med's not going to get rushed, or there isn't someone available that'll probably be an easy pick. And right now you want to look, like when you were backing up there, since the scout went up the stairs, you wanted to make sure that balcony was clear so we couldn't get in on your medic. You're pretty lucky that he didn't jump in. It's questionable whether or not he would get a pick there, but they know that you guys have advantage, so he probably could have went for that, knowing that you guys were already down a bit. Okay, so I don't know really why you guys ended up going crits, and then there was that mistake there where there's a soldier that was just hiding. Or maybe he just killed himself. I don't know. No, there was a soldier there and you just kind of missed him. But yeah, I think you probably would have got Uber before them anyway, so I don't know why you'd risk going at crits. Maybe I'm missing something. You want to jump them. Capping this 4 times isn't helping them a lot, and I wouldn't expect their med to kind of use there anyway, so without extending your medic, it's probably unlikely that you'll be able to defend like that. Their demo probably should have just killed you guys. He's just missing his sticks, and their team didn't have the buffs to get in, which is just a misplay on their part before pushing through the choke. So now that you guys have the crits, you don't want to do this. You never want to crits blind. This will happen a lot and you'll look pretty bad. That's never fun. So your scouts need to be taking buffs aggressively just so they can see what's going on. And obviously, with distances like this, I'm really favorable of the soldier crits in general. But if there's not a likelihood of them being close, so since they know that you guys are going to have crits, they're still on it because your med didn't go down. And they have a general idea of when it's going to come. I would probably favor the demo man crits here because there's not a whole lot that's going to be able to get on you. You're not going to be running into a bunch of close people where rockets are easy crits to hit. So probably just stick with the demo man there. Or if you really wanted to use the soldier crits, your demo man's not feeling it, probably peek out the lower right door because you meet a couple people there. You can feel pretty comfortable using the crits to kill both of them, or even one of them, and then kind of jump in to yard with the crits and maybe get a long range crit. But like the thing about crits is as long as you get a couple kills, you can delay long enough to get it again. So you're never really concerned with, you know, oh shit, we're at a disadvantage because we didn't get the med, you know. As long as you're at one point have an advantage and you maintain that advantage in a way of like getting picks and holding aggressively or obviously getting the med, then your crits is going to be pretty good. But you never want to do like what you just did there where you just lose your crits for free because you're not going to be able to defend long enough to get it back. Fortunately they're going a bit slow, so you might get it for this last, which means you want to peek into them if your med's going to sit on you and just kind of shit on them with the crits away from the Uber. Just hope you can get some kills into river or main if they peek shutter, something like that. Or your demo could just sticky everything to living fuck with crit stickies and hope that you get some kills at the end of the Uber. And obviously a crit heavy would be really good at spreading the damage around too quickly for their med to force. So, and then you don't really want a sniper here. There's no real point, especially since you're disadvantaged already. Oh, you actually switched to Uber. Right, your mech died. That was my mistake. So this point is where you're backing up like this. It's not really accomplishing a whole lot, so you just wasted your whole buff doing nothing. You could at least try to be pressuring towards lobby, jump balcony, and if someone comes back for you, that's dealing with the Uber in a positive way, even though you're probably going to take a little bit of damage, but since you have a big buff anyway, you're the pocket, you kind of have the luxury. You can afford to jump around more aggressively at last. They're not kiting towards your spawn where it doesn't really accomplish much, and if they're winning the last already, you're definitely going to lose off of that. And here's where I was mentioning, try not to get hit by that first stick. So delay a little bit, hog the corner, kind of 27 around the around the banana corner. And then you saw that scout or soldier push out a drop down and you just kind of jumped anyway. Those are very free kills and it's going to leave your demo kind of fucked. He just dies right now. So at this point you need to take a little bit of a buff, avoid this damage, and jump in. Because your team's lost the mid, there's no way you're going to win. And you might as well try to get the med. Since you're going to be losing anyway, if you get the med you might be able to push into mid and afterwards, after everyone respawns. So right now, if you do a 27 and then a skip jump, you could probably get into that demo pretty easily. And since the med was at choke, you know he doesn't have a buff, so he's going down pretty easy like that. But in general, it'll be pretty easy to aggress on that guy since he's focusing on the scout. As long as you guys kited towards big door, even though they're pushing choke, and they should have been on you by the time you actually killed that demo, they were just a bit slow. As long as you kite towards big door, you have a lot of escape options. You can obviously hover there for a bit, and then wait for their Uber to fade and Uber onto them while they're on the point, or force them out without Ubering since they'll probably be playing good if they're good, and start backing up if they have a fail Uber like that. As long as you take it quick enough, you can kind of have that option. And if you take a lot of damage or one person takes a lot of damage, they can obviously back off to the lower right and feel pretty comfortable in just living because they're going to be in your lobby. In the situation where you have to use to get those couple kills, since the entire team's there, you get those couple kills and it's a pretty easy force if they don't use through choke. Or you just sack one person into choke and have one watching him. And it's a 1 to force and a 2 to force for them, so you're going to have a better advantage at the end of the fight. So right now this is a pretty shitty position for them. You want to be jumping into them. Since you have that pick advantage on the demo and maybe a scout. See, you're going to have exchanging here. But it's not really doing anything. Their med should have saved that soldier. And they should have had a better Uber just because their med could have had just a more central position, so towards the end of it he'd be able to heal everyone else. And it would probably stalemate at that point, just because even with that better health they wouldn't be able to push in, except they kind of got picks on flank, so had they kited towards flank with the end of the Uber, it probably would have been a worse Uber for you guys in general. So that situation, taking advantage of the fact that they were pretty far back and unable to pressure you from getting in, and just sacking in and letting your med leave and getting a 100% advantage on them by forcing would probably have been the best idea. And if they're playing pretty far back, you can wait a little bit for you to get up and just take mid slowly and use your advantage more for obtaining second or getting the med if they're out of position at second. And if they end up playing close, your team can just Uber without you and get a bunch of kills there.
Our control point is being captured. Time has been added.
So yeah, probably try to hit those guys a bit more instead of preventing them from going forward. Just prevent them from getting into shutter without taking the crit heals away, and you could maybe pushed off of that everyone through choke. Since you're down one, you're probably just going to wait around for a bit. And you probably want to push through choke with this advantage, because the scout that's respawning is going to have an easier time getting to choke, just because it's a little bit closer than enemy big door. So, in the thought of having everyone with your Uber, just build this hard and push through choke, and make sure your scout that's respawning is in on this. So you want to start clearing these if you're going to work off your advantage. I guess, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention that much, but their med was away from their team for a bit, so you could have kind of played off of that, knowing you had a bit of an advantage there, but not a big deal. I can understand how you wouldn't realize you had an advantage there, so... Yeah. See, this, you kind of have a problem holding because your flank's pretty aggressive and they don't often take buffs from your med. And in general, your med's not traveling around a lot to kind of hand out buffs. This Uber was a big mistake because ideally this demo is going to have it stickied. I don't think he died in the last fight, so there's really no excuse on his part or his team's part for being too far ahead from him if he happened to be slow. So you're going to get forced there early, and it's just lucky that they happen to be pushing that way. Most good teams are going to be pushing up top already or pushing lower right or lower left so they can avoid the stickies. So it's fortunate that you got a really good force on them and forced them to multi, and you ended up picking that soldier because the med wasn't paying attention. So right now you're concerned with getting health and making sure that there's no one underneath to pick your med. Yeah, sitting up here at the health you are is going to be pretty shitty, even though it's a pretty easy arrow for your med. Not a whole lot of meds are going to do that. And yeah, basically afterwards just do what you did there, just keeping them out, which is good. You can afford to push big door with this since you have advantage. It's not really going to matter if they have any more pressure there than here. Just so you can get in a bit quicker. And right now you're comfortable letting your med play where he is, just because you don't really want to get used on or anything to get on your med after you have this number advantage. Since it's not going to follow up in a second, you don't need to be very quick in there. So just put your med in a position like behind rock where you can't really ever die there, and just make sure the people on the point are rotating for buffs, so one guy caps, backs up when his buff decays, the other guy starts capping, something like that. At least until your demo gets a pretty healthy amount of stickies on entrances. So at this point you're just waiting for your sniper to get some picks. That's good enough. You probably want to push through shutter, just because you're going to keep some positioning there. But they don't go to their point with their Uber, so River was the best choice in that situation, I guess. I don't know, it's just probably should rotate shutter, you had the time. And you also would have helped your roamer out there who got jumped by Trisk. So yeah, this doesn't do anything, especially since you did these 2 consecutive jumps, so you're really low on rockets. You're not gonna do anything at all. So like I said, unless your team's getting up there before you, starting to get up there before you really enter mid, you don't want to jump up there. It's not going to be beneficial to you or your team, because you really have to use that position as a launching pad to jump into them again. So if they're not already up there, you don't want to be jumping there unless you're planning on jumping again into them on the other side. So it's pretty much only in mirror situations. So the other times it would be on the ground, or just waiting for a counter jump, or walking up slowly in the case that they're not really contesting you. So you're not really going to do a whole lot with this, even though you have some number advantage since you have a sniper. And I wouldn't hold lobby like this. You can afford to have the scout watch just from main, and just play up top, so you can have be more reactive to anyone up top near the health pack. And obviously your med's a bit safer, because he's got that little bit of high ground, and your push is a little bit, or your hold is a little bit stronger since you got the little bit of high ground. Since you saw that spam at big door, your choke might be pretty free, so I'd be rushing through here rather than waiting for them to kind of set up on this, because yeah, they're not here yet. So you could have gotten in a lot earlier, but now they're going to have time to set up. What you can do with that kind of getting in early, you can sack into them if they're really far back and force them. Or in some situations you can just take it for free with some better spam since you guys got in appropriately, which would probably involve a scout lead, and since you have a sniper I guess that's not happening. But yeah. I just don't really know why you guys have a sniper. So yeah, a little bit overzealous there. Your med's probably gonna, yeah, just This comes from having a sniper, someone waiting on forward, and generally being too aggressive at choke when you don't need to be. Like, you can just stay on the ammo pack, and that kind of provides a natural sight line for cutting off anything there. And as soon as they kind of overwhelm, as long your med's going to be able to be far enough back behind the nipple that it won't really matter. You don't want to give up that position. Now something could push through balcony, and it seems like as long as your demo's up, he's going to be able to deal with the crits from river alone, just walk into them. And I don't know, I guess your roamer definitely should have jumped in, but I think he was respawning. But you should probably just make sure you defend that a bit more. But if you were looking to push into river, just back up looking towards balcony and then drop down from that railing towards river and just be on top of them like that instead of taking the pipe route where you have the potential to kind of get stickied or piped from there. Because you're far enough away from them that they're not going to be able to do damage themselves and they have a lot of time to react. Since your med's down, you had the potential to jump there before you took all that damage, and it wouldn't have mattered because they had to cap 2 anyway and they're really far back. So by the time you ended up spawning, you'd probably still be able to defend lobby pretty easily. And in this situation, I'd look to defend lobby since you should know that they have some kind of advantage. Since I don't think their med died in that crits. No, wait, your med died at second, so maybe they have Uber, so you don't really know. I think their med may have died with crits. But yeah, you definitely want to hold lobby, you don't give anything up for free. You just make sure everyone's on standard classes and kind of assign roles for people. The way we usually do it is demo near big door, I'm near the pack near balcony, just outside of balcony, and our meds with our demo, and occasionally flashes me. One scout watches main from inside of last pretty much, just so they can't get in lower right, and then the other scout and soldier top right. The pocket kind of plays a more roaming role in that case, because if they end up going up top, I'm usually the guy to take it up there, just because I have a pretty big buff. You shouldn't have been Ubered here, because you're going to get away no problem, but it doesn't matter. Don't walk onto the stickies. Yeah. You can be pretty comfortable in just walking out the bottom right door and cutting them off through mid, or just walking out it for the sake of not getting stickied off, because they really should have been able to delay you a bit longer than they actually did. So most times it's worth doing that, even if it's only the demo and med up. So you want to be clearing these stickies a bit earlier so you can follow up on your roamer's aggression. Yeah. The faster you clear them, the less he has loaded to kind of do that. And I don't know, it just for the sake of helping your roamer out a bit, it would have been better. Yeah, pretty much here, you should never leave choke unless you see them going big door, just to react to a push from there and kind of force them early. Other than that, just staying here is pivotal because you can spot them going to big door from here. Or they have to take a really roundabout way and the people at big door will find out. If your med's playing a central position, it's pretty easy for them to get buffs frequently enough that they'll spot them kind of falling around the point and going down the ground. So you can see pretty much all the time when they're going big door from here, which is the good part about holding choke this aggressively. And what you're looking to do here is probably have a scout near you, and there's a couple ways you could do this just to make, like, they're playing pretty passive for no reason. So you can kind of make something out of it by pushing and choke with your scout with the heal beam on, and if he gets enough damage done and takes enough damage himself, with obviously he does it away so he can't die. Since he's got the heal beam on him, he's around 200 health at the beginning of that fight. Like, he's gonna get spiked down, and before the next rocket comes, he'll have healed probably like 20 health. So he's around 200 health at the beginning of that, and as long as he can't get trapped off by the first rocket, so he's playing properly, like peeking properly and just putting his crosshair in the right place, he can get a lot of free damage done there. All in if he feels comfortable in doing it himself, or back off for free. In this situation where he ends up backing off, you can kind of take that damage he did and the damage he took, the lack of ammo they have as a cue to go in, and potentially you can get a pick there, or just have enough room to jump in and force yourself. And in that situation, your medic will already be cutting out, since you're pushing into them so aggressively from a defensive posture. Your medic's not going to be not going to have to use for a second, because he can pretty much get out any way he wants, and it's golden for him. But yeah, just I don't know. This game's really long, and I'm getting pretty bored, so I might stop this one. I don't know. We'll see. Like, you guys are always running a sniper, and that's just fundamentally wrong. Like, there's a lot of just fundamentally wrong with this demo. Like, if they were playing aggressive at all, you guys would be absolutely shit on. Make sure you clear these with your shotgun. There's no point in leaving them up. Like, if he happens to still be here, still aggressing, and they actually man up at big door so your sniper can't peek, getting hit by these sticks as he's sending sticks in will just kill you, and you're gonna have the shittiest Uber in the world, because he will force your medic if he doesn't use on you anyway, so. And again, like, you had a pick and you didn't go in. So either get your roamer a big fat buff so he can go in, or just go in yourself, because you can't just let them live off of a pick. That's retarded, because they're gonna do something like this. They just Ubered you anyway, so there's no point in not... Like, if you're never gonna push off of a pick, then why even have a sniper? It's like, just silly. And now you're giving up choke, even though you know they're pretty far back, because they just sacked someone in. So at the very least you can buy some time, and that natural sideline of choke is pretty good, because if they end up pushing that way, you can sack into them. Feel comfortable that your team will be able to deal with the 5v5 with a little bit of their Uber and defend second, and know that the person respawning is going to be very healthy getting there, because he has a further distance to travel. So by the time he ends up getting up, you'll probably be in a position to be pretty close or able to help that fight out. So there's no point in backing out like this. You kind of relish in the opportunity to either see that they're going big door and have your demo react to them, or know that they're going choke, your mech playing a position that you can get out, and you just kind of suiciding into them and bullying them around. At the very least, you slow them down and your team's leaving anyway, and it doesn't really make a difference. So I end up pushing big door and the Uber really early, because you guys have a sniper, but they had the potential to sneak scouts in lobby and kind of push them out before they went in, and in that case they would have saved Uber. This is garbage time. You guys are waiting for Uber. They're 2 down, so I hope you guys go with this. You shouldn't have a sniper. I'm probably just gonna stop watching if you guys have a sniper this entire round. Yeah, like, save your rockets. If they're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage, especially if the guy's getting healed already or there's no one around to buff, like, the med's not going to have a tough decision just healing him up, and you're just going to lose ammo. Especially if the first one doesn't hit, it doesn't make sense to fire the second one, because the only way you're really keeping him down or bouncing him around or making him lose health is if the previous rocket hits. So if the previous rocket doesn't hit, there's no reason to fire a consecutive one. Of course you can fire that first one for the opportunity, but if it's not, the only reason you fire that is because you have time to reload anyway. Like, you just want to be, you know, optimal and just make sure you're just putting out some damage if you can. But yeah, stuff happens. Your team loses. Probably because you had a sniper. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna stop this at the half, just because there's not a whole lot going on, and it's kind of boring, and I'm kind of repeating myself a lot. So you saw that roamer's going drop down, and... Huh. Maybe I was seeing things. No, he was just really slow. Alright then. Well, you shouldn't have jumped there knowing that they would be going drop down, because in the event that you push them off on the left side, he'd be behind you ready to kill you, so you wouldn't get enough damage to really justify your death there. Probably should have just jumped behind him on the low ground, and you can bully him out and drop down a lot and probably kill him for free, just because he's not going to be looking at you. So because you knew he was that slow, you know, easy mode, just jump up and kill him. And now you have a sniper, and I'm really mad. So I'm definitely, yeah, I'm done after the half, so hopefully you learned a bit, but you're not going to be able to play the game properly with a sniper anyway, so a lot of my advice is kind of meaningless. Don't want to be scout building. It's kind of crap. Let's see, the scout's the only person that has a buff. They push in. If you'd been building properly, you probably would have been able to hold choke. You lose your shitty, stupid class, and now you're in trouble. Probably make sure you just splash the wall there. I have the tendency to splash the ground or go for directs, but the wall's going to hit them all the time there, so just be careful about that. And there's no reason to push in here, because if they're not concerned with, like, running in a straight line towards health, they can kite you pretty efficiently, and your Uber's going to do nothing. And in this case, even though a couple of them die because they're playing like crap, you guys are still going to get shit on. So now they have an advantage for last, so if you have a couple people spawning, like your demo and your roamer can hold lobby, and that's what they're looking to do, to buy you guys time to get a little bit forward and hold lobby again. With this pick on their scout, you can be looking to get into them and probably try to force them. If they happen to not be in lobby right now, which would have been a cheat if you guys had been doing a lobby hold. And by the time they kind of recover from getting pushed into, you know, you're going to be around for the end of last. So right now this passive shit's not working. Like this is never going to work, just letting them get in. Yeah. That's half. Don't run a sniper.